live with other where did you run? Okay, I am impressed. You know what is impressing me most? The front row is filled. The front row is filled. Yes, yes. So clearly we know that this is not a typical group. It is right at, okay, it's 9:59, so I was just doing that talk before 10, but I think it's close enough, and I think all of us are, most of it, anyway. So very grateful that you could join us today, and so that you can hear from our special guest talking on that topic that we are all wanting, just loving to talk about, right? Right. Welcoming death. You know, it's like the thing that many of us try to avoid, because it is not easy. And so I'm grateful I'm not the one who needs to cover this topic. So I would like to welcome our guest, who is the Reverend Dr. William, I know him as Billy, Daniel. He is an Episcopal priest ordained in the Episcopal Church and is serving now as a chaplain in palliative care with Covenant Health. So let us now welcome the Reverend Dr. Billy Daniel.
Well, it's lovely to be with you all here today. Let me just get this quickly set up. And yes, how do you hear me in the back? Yeah, great. Am I okay like this? Yeah, perfect. I don't typically need a mic, especially when there's no carpet, so we're okay. So before we begin, I want to take you through just a simple exercise. And the way that I kind of want to get us oriented to the space, oriented to this conversation, because it's so exciting, is to bring a little ease and calm to your bodies. So I'm going to invite you, I'm going to walk you through a simple breathing exercise. And what I'm going to have you do is making sure you're breathing through your nose, unless you're like me and you've got some allergies going on and you just can't do it today. Breathing through your nose into your diaphragm or into your belly. And you're going to take a deep breath into your diaphragm, and when you can't take any more, you're going to take another short breath into the top of your lungs, and then I'm going to walk you through letting that out with a little bit of a sigh, like, ah. Right? All right. You got it? So let's take a deep breath into your belly, short breath into your chest, and let it out with a sigh. Ah. One more time. Deep breath into your belly, short breath into the chest, out with a sigh. Ah. One more time. Deep breath into your belly, short breath, out with a sigh. Ah. Now just lowering your gaze or closing your eyes. Just noticing. What do you notice? What do you notice? Just slowly reorienting to the space. Turn to a partner and just tell them in one word What did you notice?
The air.
Turn to your partner right next to you. You notice the air. So one word. All right, coming back to this space, somebody share with us, what did you notice? You said air. For the, like, you noticed the air coming in. You could feel it on your face. What else did you notice? You sank into the chair, so you felt grounded. Yeah. Stable. What else did you notice?
Darkness.
Darkness. A calming darkness? Or a disconcerting darkness? Just darkness. We're not going to qualify it, it's just darkness. What else did you notice?
Silence.
Silence?
I had a mild sense of dizziness.
Dizziness. You might want to see your physician. One more response. Relaxation. If you ever find yourself feeling a little stressed, that simple little exercise, do that 3 to 10 times, and you will find yourself moving out of that fight, flight, freeze state into a more executive function brain state where you can actually make sound decisions, sound choices, where your emotions and all the thoughts racing through your mind aren't dictating what you do next. And if you practice that every day, it'll make all the better impact. So, I want you to, whatever is your best listening posture, if you feel like you want to close your eyes, great. If you want to kind of lower your gaze, I want to share with you 2 stories. 2 stories. I want you to imagine with me a young woman about 50 years old. She's lying in a bed of a small hospital room. Her husband seated in the chair to her right, her brother in the chair at the foot of her bed. To her left sits her young adult son, early 20s. Robin was diagnosed with colon cancer about 7 years ago. She had been doing chemo and radiation to fight off the disease, and she had returned to the hospital because after she went in for her most recent infusion, the oncologist noticed that her numbers were too far off and she needed intense medical attention. After a few days of being admitted for care, the oncologist enters the room to share with Robin that unfortunately her cancer is not responding to the treatment and her body's no longer strong enough to receive chemo or radiation. They're out of options. And it's time to consider going on to hospice so that Robin and her family can be together for the days and weeks that she has left. As the oncologist delivers this devastating news to Robin and her family, you notice that her son, who's holding his mother's hand with his left hand, begins to scroll through Facebook in his right hand. In this sober moment, he splits his attention between his dying mother and updates about the latest baseball stats on social media. Just let that image sink in. Let that dynamic sink in. Now I want to tell you another story. 7 years ago, Robin was diagnosed with colon cancer. While devastating at first, she and Bob researched what to do and committed to beating the cancer. Robin never missed a treatment. And while life continued much the same, Bob began to notice changes. Small ones, but changes nonetheless. Over time, Robin and her family made adjustments to accommodate her lack of energy and a whole host of medications and dietary restrictions. Occasionally, Robin would mention how hard it was. Bob would quickly respond, "We're going to beat it. No need to talk about it." Robin's son was in high school. She didn't want to be a burden to him or distract him from getting the most out of high school. So she did everything to keep life as normal and not say anything that might sound like she might not be around forever. She didn't want Jason worrying about anything. Children shouldn't have to worry about cancer, she thought. Robin and Bob worked hard to keep things as normal as possible. If there was anything they ever had to discuss, they made sure Jason wasn't around. They wanted to protect him from worry and fear. Really, they were protecting themselves from having to deal with whatever reaction Jason might have had to what Robin was going through. After Robin's episode, finding herself in the hospital, the oncologist had come in to deliver the bad news that Robin's time on earth was being cut short. She gathered with her husband, brother, and son in the hospital room to wait until she could go home on hospice. As they gathered, Jason, desperately wanting to be with his mom, but not knowing how to be with her in this moment. They had never talked about death and dying. His parents made it seem like everything was going to be fine. And feeling overwhelmed, when Jason gets overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do, like many young people today, he copes by scrolling through social media. So in order to balance his emotions and still be in the room with his mom, he checked out the latest baseball statistics of his favorite players, which helped him to keep from showing his emotions or shedding any tears. He had learned from his parents that being strong meant hiding your emotions and not talking about anything, any feelings you might be having. So turning to your partner, what do you notice in those two stories? A brief reflection. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes. We got 1 more minute. 1 more minute.
They could be praying for you. About it. Just tell them you're good. Tell them how you feel. What do you think?
Let's gather your attention back to the room here. Somebody want to share what you were feeling or thinking about Jason in that first story? What were your thoughts or feelings about Jason in that first story?
He won't find peace.
Trying to find peace?
He won't.
He won't find peace. What did I hear here?
I was kind of irritated with him for looking at his phone.
You were irritated with Jason. He was looking at his phone. His mom's dying. Yeah. What's that? Very callous. Yeah. Avoidant. He was trying to keep moving. Yeah. He was feeling numb. Go ahead.
I was concerned about the parents in the first place.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had learned probably, or had decided mutually, not to share fear and trauma.
So you were already thinking that in the first story.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's move to
I
this.
was as well.
Yeah. So let's move to the second story. What did you feel toward Jason in the second story? Empathy.
Yeah, felt sorry for him.
Felt sorry for him.
He could comprehend the gravity of the situation.
Yeah.
The enormity of the problem he was facing. He could not get it.
He couldn't experience the enormity of the situation. No one had shown him how.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That is what happened to one my aunt. I understand.
You've experienced this
Later
firsthand.
on in life, she said, don't do that.
Yeah. How many of you feel like you know that story all too well? Yeah. So, ever since the 1990s, there's been a concerted effort in media publications to eliminate the word death from our vocabulary. We use words like passing, expire, instead of the seemingly harsh label death. Interestingly, however, the terms passing and expire as it relates to death actually come about the same time period in the 12 and 1300s. Expire as in to breathe out your spiration, breathe out your last, comes from the French, and passing regarding the soul's passing over comes to us in the Middle English. In the 1520s, there was in many English churchyards what became known as the passing bell. And they would ring it the number of times that the person had lived that number of years on the earth. So, before we turn around and say, well, I guess that's how it's always been. And no one ever says, I'm afraid of expiring. No one ever says, I'm afraid of passing. Rather, we speak of the fear of death. We speak of the fear of dying. No one talks about expiration row in the prisons. Right? No one talks about the passing's door. Right? It's death's door that we knock on. Not expiration's door. Not passing's door. Death is what we say when we talk about that state we don't want to be in. So instead, we talk endlessly about what heaven's going to be like, about our mansions in the sky. And we gloss over that whole reality of one day breathing our last breath. Death has become like politics in our divided homes. We don't talk about it. In my experience, speaking with individuals and families about death and dying on a daily basis, I experience the whole spectrum. I'm newly convinced every day that conversations around death are absolutely necessary. I've also witnessed on countless occasions this dynamic. Whether a person is religious or not, whether they believe in God or are a professed atheist, whether they believe in the afterlife or no afterlife, the persons who tell me that they're afraid to die are the ones who express that they feel like they haven't really lived their life. As Mark Twain once said, the fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. Our fear around having conversations about death and dying seem to stem not from the reality of our body's eventual return to the soil. Rather, it seems to stem from other fears. Have I actually lived? Will anyone care that I'm gone? What will people say about me when I'm no longer around? What sort of impact have I made? Have I lived as I would want my kids to live? When we become aware of and name what our actual fears are around death and dying, we can begin to have honest conversations with ourselves about what we've done or left undone. Accept this reality, grieve what wants grieving in us, extend ourselves a little compassion, and take responsibility for our lives, and begin to shift patterns we've adopted that keep leading us away from uncomfortable, life-changing conversations that open us to a different experience of ourselves, others, and the world. Saint Benedict said long ago that it is the imperative of every follower of Jesus to keep their deaths ever before them. Why? What is the need to keep our deaths ever before us? Why does Jesus himself tell us that we are to take up our crosses and die daily? As St. Benedict goes on to write in his Rule for Monks in the 6th century, keeping our deaths before our eyes enables us to keep constant guard over the actions of our lives. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, writing in the 60s and 70s, reminds that it is the denial of death that is partially responsible for people living empty, purposeless lives. When you live as if you're going to live forever, it becomes too easy to postpone the things you know you must do. We followers of Jesus have a tricky relationship with death. Recent promotions of the end times only seem to highlight increasing confusions on the matter. We are told to believe in things like resurrection, that our life continues beyond the grave, and we're supposed to die every day. While there may appear to be a conflict of interest here, learning to hold these two realities in tension is the path that leads to deeper aliveness. This is the paradox of life. For us to move beyond the limitations of our survival instincts and the egoic drive to survive, we must fully accept and embrace the reality of our impending death. Research shows that those who regularly meditate on their death are more accepting and empathetic toward others. Studies in psychology and neuroscience reveal what saints and sages have told us for thousands of years. Keeping our deaths ever before us opens us to deeper gratitude. We come to savor life, even the uncomfortable, more challenging aspects of it. We learn to embrace every experience as a moment of growth and learning. Every challenging situation or circumstance, every person that feels like they're getting in the way, become our teachers. We embrace them. This is what Jesus is getting at when he implores us to pray for our enemies. We don't pray for our enemies merely that they would stop hurting us and everyone else. We pray for them so that we begin to experience them as our teachers. People who have something to reveal about our own desire to control and impose our own will on the world. Let that sink in just a moment. Oliver Sacks, in his book entitled Gratitude, reflecting on his life as he awaited his death, considering the paradox that when we let go of control and embrace this mortal life as temporary, we gain what the earliest Christians referred to as a serene indifference. Now, serene indifference is not what we would call indifference today. It is, as Oliver Sacks writes, about detachment. I still care deeply about the Middle East, about global warming, about growing inequality, but these are no longer my business. They belong to the future. I cannot pretend I am without fear, but my predominant feeling is one of gratitude. Embracing death is about letting ourselves feel and experience our fears as experiences rather than states of being. They become, once again, teachable moments. It is about letting ourselves feel the impulse to control as impulses born out of our egoic drive to survive, rather than arising from our deeper inner reality as descendants of God. What makes living this life so challenging in the modern world is, in part, all of that medical technology that's available to us. We can put people on life support. We can replace organs, perform surgeries, artificially control blood sugar, blood pressure, heart rates. We can give people oxygen to assist with breathing. We can insert feeding tubes. We can filter bodily toxins when kidneys are failing. We can do so much to prolong life that we often fail to consider what it is we're actually prolonging. G.K. Chesterton reminded the world at the turn of the 20th century that we're learning to do a great many things. The real question is whether we'll ever learn to stop doing them. With all of our life-preserving measures and technologies, we've gotten better at avoiding the basic human reality that all of us will at some point wander off into the sunset for the last time. And while the medical industry has gotten far better at helping us fight unexpected diseases and illnesses, enabling many to live long and fruitful lives, our avoidance of death and dying continues to sustain a kind of subconscious illusion and sometimes willful deception that we're somehow going to make it out of this life alive. Western medicine, writes Jeffrey Bishop, is founded in a dream as old as humanity itself, to defer death. Accordingly, death is the end of all, meaning in and of life. Because of this, humanity dreams the dream of immortality, health, and youth, which we attempt to realize by immortalizing ourselves in works of art or literature, erecting buildings with our names on them, and procreating to perpetuate our kind. Medicine, particularly Western medicine, took a decided turn in the 1700s when the first medical clinics came about in France. It's during this season, with the political upheavals of the American and French revolutions, that Western medicine, unsurprisingly, begins focusing on disease rather than health. Notice that connection? We got to get rid of all those people that are making our life hard. Got to get rid of those diseases. But we don't often know what to do next. We don't often know what's actually healthy. We focus all of our attention on what's wrong, what's missing. Still today, we can talk about the ills we face with a decided diminished benefit of what's actually helping us. In the work that I do with people each day, whether in the hospital or the work I do with individuals in counseling, I help people have uncomfortable conversations with themselves and others about their health and well-being, with explicit attention to the sort of person or people they desire to be, and whether their habits and practices are actually enabling them to live this reality into being, or is it steering them away from the life that really is life? I help people become more aware of this dynamic that Paul speaks of at the end of his first letter to Timothy. In this way, they will store up true riches for themselves. It will provide a firm basis for the next life. Then they will take hold of the life that really is life, as if it's already available. So I want to do an exercise with you, and then I'm going to give you a chance for some response. But again, I'm going to invite you to kind of lower your gaze or close your eyes. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds just to let all that sink in. Keeping your eyes closed or your gaze lowered, just notice for a moment how enriching 30 seconds of silence can be. I want to do an exercise with you. We're all coming from different places in our lives. We're all different people with different ways of perceiving. We have different backgrounds, different beliefs, different expectations. And while the mortality rate in this room is 100%, none of our deaths will be the same. Your experience of death and dying will be your own. The experience others will have around your death will be their own. There are very clear similarities to how humans die. And our bodies do very similar things as we approach our final days on the earth. And our deaths are unique to us and to those who will grieve our departure. I invite you once again just to take a slow, deep breath and then exhale it easily. And just noticing your breath for a moment. Letting your diaphragm expand. Noticing the air passing through your nostrils as you exhale. And continuing with this pattern of unhurried breathing. Just for the next moment, just notice the air sustaining you. Noticing it coming into your lungs, out of your lungs. If you have any tension in your face or shoulders, just relaxing any tension in your forehead, any tension in your jaw or your cheekbone. Releasing any tension in your shoulders. Releasing any tension all the way down from your shoulders to the tip of your fingers. Just letting everything go. As you continue to breathe, I invite you to imagine your death. Imagine who's with you as you die. Who do you want there? Where are you? Imagining the place where you will breathe your final breath, where do you want to be? What's the temperature in the room? What are the smells that you smell? Is there any music in the background? If so, what are the songs you want playing? Now just taking a slow, deep breath, and then letting it out as slowly as possible. You can reorient to the space, opening your eyes slowly. My dad was diagnosed with dementia back in 2014. He died this past year. When we were preparing for his death, we didn't really know what he might want. We didn't really have the opportunity to have some of those conversations. Even though we had that span of 10 years, it was hard to kind of know what my dad would have wanted given his cognitive state. And so we did the best that we could. When my wife and I went to visit my dad, she insisted that we sing some of those gospel hymns that my dad loved so much. I could barely make it through a single song. I would tear up and I would just break down and crying the whole time. And my dad wasn't alert. He couldn't kind of tell me if he enjoyed it or not. I suspect he did. But I didn't know what my dad wanted. I think we did pretty well as his children. I've got 3 other siblings. We were all gathered round. My sister would occasionally play some music on her phone that she thought my dad would like. He loved the Gaithers. And we did our best. And again, I think we did okay. But I have no idea if it's what my dad would have wanted. Because we never had that conversation. He never told us. He didn't expect to get dementia. We didn't expect him to get dementia. For a long time, nobody expected my dad to die. One of the challenges that we face in being human is we have a tendency to try to protect each other. At least that's what we say. And what we're really doing is we're protecting ourselves from having conversations that make us feel uncomfortable. And so we end up not telling people what we want. We end up not making decisions long before they have to be made. And we entrust it to somebody else, knowing that, well, they would know what I want. And if you've ever been in that situation where someone has assumed that you knew what they would want, and you sat there trying to figure out what would they want, you know what I'm talking about. Because it's an unnecessary burden that we place on each other because the conversation feels uncomfortable. And the reason it feels uncomfortable is because we have all these internal mechanisms fighting against that discomfort. And so we don't engage each other in those conversations. So I have just a few things for you to consider. I love this little graphic. They're not ready. They never are, child. What are conversations that you want to have? Just think generally. What are conversations you wish you could have right now? Who do you want to be closer to or with? Think about your friends. Think about your family. Who is it that matters to you? What are things you want your children, your friends, or your spouse to know? And what do you want them to know about you? Don't assume that they know. What are things you take for granted that people know that you might want to be explicit about? What gets in the way of you sharing all of these things? What are you really afraid of? And what's one thing you can lean into? What one thing you can do to lean into the discomfort and act on what's true for you right now? We're coming close to time. Questions, thoughts, reflections? Please.
I find that you can't push on somebody else's desire for their deal for them like that, it's their temporary.
You can't push on someone else
It's their desire.
their desire.
If I want to talk about my thoughts about my dad,
Sure.
and the other person is just not able to go there,
Yeah.
then I just have to take that burden out there.
So, did everybody hear what she said? If I want to talk about my death and the other person doesn't, then I can't force that on them. Does that resonate? That's true, right? I can't make you have a conversation.
I have to go to get the choir practice, so.
Okay. I can't make somebody have a conversation they don't want to have. That is true. Now, let me articulate a different version of what you just said that I hear every day. They don't want to have that conversation. And they haven't even bothered to try. We make assumptions about the conversations that you want to have, and in reality, I just don't want to have it. But I blame it on you so that I don't bother approaching you. Both can be true, and it's usually the latter. And if the person you want to have that conversation with isn't ready, find someone who is. Because somebody will have that conversation with you. I think there are clergy here, right? Other thoughts, questions, reflections?
Well, my husband has Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
He finally was willing to see a doctor 5 years ago after I tried for 2-3 years.
Hmm.
He's not this.
Yeah.
So
Been a lot.
we've had time to make decisions, plan for the end,
Yeah.
and the kids don't want to accept it. The nurses said you have to tell them to come see him. Well, one son calls 2 or 3 times a week. He sends gifts. He cares.
Yeah.
The other one won't even give us his phone number.
Hmm.
And knowing that a social contact is vital to Steve's well-being,
Yeah.
we told our daughter-in-law. So Eric called once. He called the next week. He's called once. Since then, in over 4 years, I told Steve to go somewhere where I couldn't hear and take the speakerphone off. When Steve was done, I said, "What did you talk about?" And he said, "I can't remember."
Hmm. That's a lot of grief.
So when Steve dies, we can't call Eric, and I'm not gonna call his daughter or his wife. Somebody else will have to do it. We have to find a way to cope. My son takes care of us,
Yeah.
and the church takes care of us.
Yeah. You've got a whole community of support. And you'd like.
We said since we had little kids, our church is our family.
Yeah. And it'd be nice for your family to be together stronger.
It won't happen.
Maybe. Maybe. And you
We
do.
don't even get to talk to them.
Not ready.
I mean, we don't talk to the grandkids,
Yeah.
except twice a year. We see them once or twice a year if they give us an invitation, that's it. And then they come, if you don't go this way, you'll never see the grandkids again.
Hmm.
So, we just sort of said, we don't have those grandkids, we can't contact them.
Hmm.
They don't even know we call.
There's a lot of pain there.
So I always write in my letters, if you want to talk to us, tell your mom or dad you want to talk to us, and have them call. But they're little kids, they can't make the rules.
The frustrating thing about living is that there are no real rules to play by. And trying to deepen those relationships when others aren't ready, it's hard. It's hard. And that's a lot of grief to bear.
As we age, and we're all aged here, and you stop working, and you slow down, you start recalling those good things that happened in your life.
Yep.
What it meant to you at the time, what it means to you today, and you have a mature reflection on many of the aspects of your life which were hard and good, and you need to pass that on, because that determined who you were and who you are now. And your kids need to hear it. Your family needs to hear it.
I think those are wise words to end on as Jenny comes to tell me to get out of the way. I want to share one poem with you.
Just before you do that, let me
Yes.
just say, he also said that he doesn't have to be at church at 11 o'clock, the way some of the rest of us do. So he will be available to talk to anyone afterwards, well, for a reasonable amount of time.
Let me share this before you leave the room. So this is by Leonard Cohen, a poem he wrote before he died. I pray for courage. Now I'm old to greet the sickness and the cold. I pray for courage in the night to bear the burden, make it light. I pray for courage in the time when suffering comes and starts to climb. I pray for courage at the end to see death coming as a friend. And one last image that to end on a smile. You will live a long and healthy life if you abstain from anything that brings you joy. If you do have other questions, thoughts, I'm happy to entertain them. I know you're gonna wander out and leave, many of you. Thank you for having me, a real treat to be with you.
Oh,